You should avoid moving to Spring Hill, Florida, unless you can handle these things. Now, I've been selling homes here locally for 19 years, and during that time frame, there's been a number of customers who have told me reasons that have ultimately prevented them from moving to Spring Hill, Florida, or things that they wish they'd known before they moved here. So I wanted to put together a list of those things for you guys so you can avoid making those same mistakes, or you can decide whether that's okay, I can handle those, and Spring Hill is the place for me. Now, make sure you watch to the end. Some of these are more generic reasons, but some of them are very, very specific to Spring Hill, so you're gonna wanna know about them. Hi, and welcome to the Living in Spring Hill, Florida YouTube channel. I'm Ross Hardy from the Hardy team at RE/MAX, a 19-year real estate expert in the area. If you want to reach out to find out more information about what it's like to live here, to find out some of the amenities, learn more about the area, or to get a list of homes that might suit you in your price point and desired location, be sure to reach out to us in the information below. You can call us, text, or email. We love sharing that knowledge with you. Anyway, with no further ado, I'm going to jump into the juicy content of the video. Now, let's start by talking about Spring Hill in general, so you guys know where it is in case you're not familiar. So Spring Hill is about 45 miles north of Tampa, Florida, and about 10 miles inland from the Gulf of Mexico. So great location, pretty readily accessible to most of the common hotspots. There's about 110,000 people in Spring Hill, and that's risen rapidly in the 19 years that I've been here. And you will find that in their spare time, the residents like doing water sports like kayaking, boating, and stuff like that because of its proximity to the Gulf of Mexico. There are also a lot of other outdoor activities such as camping, hiking, ATVs, horse riding, golf. The list goes on and on and on. But we're in Florida, the Sunshine State, so a lot of stuff revolves around outdoor activities, of course. So as you can see, there's a lot of stuff to love about the area. However, nowhere's perfect. And over the years, I've seen the same things pop up over and over and over again when I ask why someone ultimately decided on another area. And I also get some feedback from people who are like, man, I really wish I knew about this before I moved there. So I want to put together that list for you. So I hope you find it interesting. Please feel free to leave a comment below if you think I've missed anything, and let's dive right into it. Now, the first thing that's important to know if you're going to be moving to this part of the world is there are a ton of bugs here. Critters, yes, but also wildlife animals that you need to be aware of. And for some people, this is just too much to handle. So let me go into just a few of them real quick. Now, the first one, of course, is because we are in Florida, you probably know already, we have gators around here. So that freaks some people out. For sure, I've seen them on the golf courses when I've played, and anytime I drive around the area, even in built up areas in Tampa, if there's a body of standing water like a lake or a pond or something, it's probably fairly safe to assume there's going to be a gator in there or very nearby to there. So if you're worried about the gators, please know that they're pretty prevalent here. I've seen quite a lot of them. I've sold houses where they are in the backyard in the lakes. So it's not a myth, it's not an urban legend. Gators are definitely a part of Florida life. Some of the other ones that we deal with are the palmetto bugs, which is basically just a cockroach. I don't think there's ever a house I've lived in Florida, no matter how much pest control I get in the property, where I don't have those in the home. So again, some people are really freaked out by that. And then on top of that, we have spiders as well. And I'm not talking about just the little teeny spiders. I'm talking about some pretty decent sized spiders. Now, I don't mind these bugs. I'm always the one in our house that kills them, but my wife is freaked out and threatens to burn the house down every time she finds one of these. So if you're that way inclined too, Florida's gonna be pretty anxiety inducing for you in some cases. And then let's talk about some of the other ones as well. So outside you have the mosquitoes and the no-see-ums. So if you have juicy skin like I do, you're gonna get bit to hell at certain times of the year. It's really, really unpleasant. And then finally, we have the love bugs twice a year. So they come around March time and then September time for about a month at a time in those two time frames. And they just will be attracted to the windshield on your car the second you start driving on any of the main roads. And they are all over the windshield, all over the front of the car. They are a real pain to try and clean off, and they actually eat at the paintwork if you don't clean them off, so you have to make sure you do that. We actually call it love bug season. They're that much of an inconvenience for people. So, just the bugs and the animals and the wildlife in general might be a reason that you want to stay away, and might be something that you need to know about before you decide to move to this area. Now, one of the other things that you will need to know about and might make you want to avoid Florida just in general is the weather. And people say, well, man, that's the reason why I'm moving to Florida, is because of the weather. And I want to kind of divide it down into two very specific sections here. Now, from November time through March, April, that's my favorite time of the year. The weather is just absolutely gorgeous. So you can get highs of like 70, 71 in January. The average low is like high 40s. We do get a couple of cold freezes and cold snaps where we get frost outside, but really the weather's gorgeous, and it's always fun turning on the news and seeing how there's snowstorms in the Midwest, and I'm wandering around in shorts, t-shirt, and flip-flops. It doesn't get much better than that. But the second part is the part that's more of a concern here, and that is the brutal humidity and heat in the summertime. Now, it's bad enough that the temperature can get up to 95, maybe even a touch higher during the summer, but what really takes it over the top is the humidity. The humidity is brutal, and it can feel like 105 or higher. It's just a stagnant heat. And to be quite honest with you, I try and avoid doing anything outside during those months, which is really, really difficult because the kids are on summer vacation. So, for me, I'm from the UK. My body is not built for these types of temperatures, and it seems like every single year it starts getting hotter earlier, stays hotter later, and then it's absolutely hotter than it was the year before. So it's like a triple whammy. So I would certainly be remiss if I didn't mention the heat and the humidity as one of the reasons why people have either avoided moving here or actually moved away from here eventually. I can certainly see the benefit of being a snowbird in these circumstances. And then the weather, of course, brings along with it another issue, which are the tropical storms and hurricanes. So during the summer, that humidity rises and builds and builds and builds throughout the day. And then in the late afternoons, you get those thunderstorms rolling, and they can turn into something a little bit more. So hurricane season, you've seen those on the news where those hurricanes are heading for Florida. Everybody panics, boards up their house. Sometimes they abandon town and get out. And we've been very, very lucky in this area of Florida that we haven't seen a direct hit in quite a while. But it's coming one day. We had a tornado touch down almost in our house in Brooksville the other day. It was a couple of blocks over and caused really, really bad damage. So, the weather is great in some cases, not so great in other cases. And so if you want to avoid just stagnant humidity and tropical storms, hurricanes, then this might not be the place for you. Now, another thing that you might want to avoid Spring Hill because of is the cost of living. Now, it's not so much that the cost of living in Spring Hill, Florida is super high, because it's not. It's right in line with the national average. Problem is that you don't necessarily get a lot in return for the average cost of living. I would say that the amenities in general are probably a little below average. I find myself sometimes going to Wesley Chapel or Tampa to fulfill certain needs and certain things that we want to do. And so, yes, you are paying the national average, but you don't have bookstores, for example. You have to go to Wesley Chapel to find the nearest bookstore. And just little things like that, higher end fine dining restaurants. If you're looking for masses and masses of entertainment, if we want to do stuff with the kids, yes, there are some things locally, like the trampoline park, the go-karts, the skating rink, but we end up having to go down to Main Event down in Wesley Chapel for the arcades and the bowling and the laser tag. Or we go down to the rock climbing down in Odessa or Tampa in order to do that for the kids, because there isn't somewhere here locally. So just the lack of attractions in general compared to your cost of living, I guess would be the way I would sum it up, might be a reason that would keep you away from being here. Next up on the list is something very specific to this part of Florida, and that is the sinkholes. Now, again, it might not be necessarily what you're thinking. You've probably seen on the news where these sinkholes open up beneath these properties and swallow whole homes or several homes at once with people trapped inside of them. And that's not really the norm when I'm talking about sinkholes. Now, yes, we do have those. And in fact, one just opened up in Weeki Wachee a couple of weeks ago where they were leveling the lot to build on it, and a sinkhole opened up there. They're kind of thin on the ground. Those I can count on probably two hands the number of cases that we've seen locally for that type of activity. But in general, there is a lot of sinkhole activity. And if you go into the county records, you're probably going to see several thousands of homes designated as sinkhole homes. Now, the majority of those have been repaired, and if you've watched any of my other videos talking about sinkholes, you'll know it's a mixed bag as far as opinions on that go. I've lived in homes that have not had sinkholes, I've lived in unrepaired sinkhole homes, and I've lived in repaired sinkhole homes. And my thinking is that I don't really believe any of these homes are going to fall into the ground, or if they are, I'm going to be extremely unlucky to be one of those people. But just because I feel that way doesn't mean you have to feel that way. And a lot of people we talk to, once they find out about the prevalence of the sinkhole activity locally, decide that there's other areas for them. So I did want to bring that to the forefront and get that out there. It's certainly a reason why a lot of people might choose to avoid Spring Hill and the surrounding areas. Okay guys, so right back into it here, and I want to talk about something I touched on a little bit before, and that is in general the lack of things to do. Now, I will say it's got considerably better over the years. I've been here 19 years, and when I first got here, it was kind of a ghost town. I mean, literally the only choice was to go to Applebee's on a Friday night and hang out there for 2-for-1 drinks. But as time's gone on, there have been more and more things introduced, and you find more and more things as well to occupy your time and keep you entertained. So now there is the Altitude Trampoline Park for kids and for adults, come to that matter. There's several gyms. I'm a gym buff, so I like going to those. There's the go-karts, there's antique stores, there's winemaking, art classes. You can go do the waterfront activities over in Hernando Beach. So there are a lot of things to do, but certainly when you compare it to somewhere like Tampa or even Wesley Chapel and some of those areas, the list looks kind of shy. So it really depends what you're looking for. You know, I'm 43 years old, but I've kind of been an old soul for a long time, so I don't really look to do a whole bunch of stuff in my spare time. I'm really just kind of using it for downtime with the family. But if you're one of those people who likes to get out and about and do something different all the time, unless you want to be driving 35, 45 minutes, Spring Hill might not be the place for you because there is a lack of activities to do compared to other areas like Tampa, Orlando, Wesley Chapel even. I'm moving right along to another thing that you need to know because it might make you want to avoid Spring Hill, is the lack of job opportunities. Now again, I've been here for 19 years and I have seen the job opportunities pick up a lot during that time, but certainly again, compared to some of the surrounding areas, you're gonna find two things. First of all, there's not as many job opportunities here. And second of all, the pay is also quite a bit less. So what we find is a lot of people will commute to Tampa or Wesley Chapel. We're right by the Sinkholes Parkway, the 589, which is the north-south toll road that goes all the way down to Tampa. So you can be down at Tampa Airport, say, from certain areas of Spring Hill in about 35, 40 minutes. So being able to do that opens up that job market down there a little more, and it's very, very big in IT and finance at the moment. So some great opportunities down there. And then, like I said, even Wesley Chapel with their rapid expansion is seeing some job growth and job opportunities there for people who don't mind commuting. But certainly in Spring Hill and Brooksville, the job opportunities are much thinner on the ground. So you need to be aware of that if that's something that you're still looking to do and still have a job and still be employed when you move here. Now, I always recommend that people check out Indeed for job opportunities and also have something lined up before they come here. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is something that's very, very topical at the moment, and that is the public schools. Now, the first thing to mention about the public schools is that they have got, again, a lot better over the last 19 years. There's some great magnet schools now as well, and there are private options. And check out Niche, check out great schools to learn more about the grades. They're all over the map, you know, some great ones and some not so good ones, like anywhere that you go. But they would be considered lower grades than some of the surrounding areas, like Land O'Lakes, Lutz, Trinity, Wesley Chapel again. So if schools are a concern for you and you don't want to go the magnet or the private route, please be sure to do your research on the public schools. And then the other thing to mention about the public schools is that Hernando County is really kind of at the epicenter of this whole Florida educational argument that's going on with DeSantis doing the book banning and stuff at the moment. Hernando County made the national news recently for having a very fiery school board open forum where people were going back and forth about their beliefs and what should and shouldn't happen in the school system. So again, you can do your research on that. But public schools may be just a notch below some of the areas around it. But again, parents that I've spoken to have had their kids go through public, have had a great experience as well. So again, do your research and find out what suits you. All right, guys, so what do you think? Is that enough to keep you away from being in Spring Hill for good? Or do you think you can handle those things and get over them and find ways around them? If you're a new or a long-time resident of Spring Hill and you have tips for dealing with some of these issues, please feel free to drop them in the comments section below. I'd love to read them from you. I always love getting feedback from you guys. Or if you're local and you have your own ideas as to what might have made you avoid Spring Hill had you known about it, please be sure to drop that in the comments as well, because I remake these videos and I would love to include some of those next time I redo it. But those are my reasons that I think you might want to avoid being here, and I hope it's a pretty comprehensive list in the time that we had together. Now, if you're watching this video and you think that the cons are really not that bad and you want more information about moving to Spring Hill or what's available in the area, please feel free to reach out to me. Like I said, my team and I would love to help you. We've been local experts on the ground now for about 20 years and we help about 200 families a year make the move to the greater Tampa Bay area, but particularly Spring Hill and Brooksville. Just reach out with the contact information to get an exclusive list of properties. We'd love to help you out. That's all I've got for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm Ross Hardy from the Hardy team. It's time to love where you live.